The heart. Okay, good evening. I am calling to order the City of Hayden regular council meeting. Today was a beautiful day, and I hope our deliberations continue with beautiful thoughts, beautiful words, and beautiful actions. May we get a call to order, please?
Council President Roeder.
Here.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember DePriest.
Here.
And Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
All right, let's do a pledge of allegiance, please. Whose turn is it? Matt's, is it your turn?
Sure. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if you don't mind, I would like to take out of the consent calendar our approval of Keith Gibson on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like it as a separate item under new business for discussion.
Is there a reason for it?
Well, yeah, I think it's a principled argument that the city council advises and consents on nomination of individuals to commissions, and I think Commissioner Gibson is a great selection, but I just don't think that it should be in the consent calendar.
Gotcha. So we have our city attorney with us tonight. I will tell you that I have had conversation with other council members, and my understanding of the law as a non-lawyer type is that city council does advice and consent, and the mayor does the appointing. Advice and consent is a legal term, though, where advice means to review and consent means to approve or disapprove. And that is why it's in the consent calendar. So if someone wants to pull, for example, I make a bad recommendation or a bad appointment, then certainly let's have that discussion. But if there's no other point except for, I don't know, I don't want to use the word spectacle, but
That's fair.
philosophy, then again, I think it's a waste of time. The whole point of a consent calendar is to push things through that don't require discussion.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand then, if you, what I hear you saying is if I absolutely disagreed with an appointment and requested taken out of the consent calendar, and I explained why, that would be an acceptable reason to take it out of the consent calendar?
It is for me.
Okay.
Anything to add, Eric?
To completely withdraw it out of the consent calendar would be amending the consent calendar. And so once it's published, you don't want to willy-nilly change your whole agenda. But the consent calendar are action items, and it sounds like you want to put it into its own action item. And then the main thing about the commission is you can't really talk about the merits of the individual appointments, because those would be personnel issues. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to do that, we would need to reschedule it into, and renotice it into an executive session, so you would talk about the merits of the individual appointment.
Okay, well, in that case, I will withdraw my request because of the conversation we've had, but also there seems to be some differences from what I've read in other references and what you just said right now. But in the interest of moving the meeting along, I don't want to beleaguer this anymore.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may I just interject that a consent calendar is used in a lot of cities around town. And in Coeur d'Alene, the consent calendar says being considered routine by the city council, these items will be enacted by one motion unless requested by a council member that one or more of these items be removed for later discussion. And I object to the fact that this couldn't just be simply removed and moved somewhere else in the agenda.
Very well.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I make one
For the record.
quick comment? I know you want to move along.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that any of the board members or commission members have to go through our HR department. So, you know, they are checked out, and so there is a process here, and so I think that we need to be aware that there is a process, and apparently they pass.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 1A, a proclamation of Fair Housing Month. This year, we commemorate the 56th anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, the landmark civil rights law signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson on April 11th, 1968, that made discrimination in housing transactions unlawful. The Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing because of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation, disability, and familial status. The City of Hayden has a fair housing compliance plan, which includes acknowledging April as Fair Housing Month. Now therefore, I, Alan Davis, Mayor of Hayden, Idaho, do proclaim April 2024 to be Fair Housing Month in the City of Hayden, Kootenai County, State of Idaho, and urge the appropriate recognition thereof. Moving on to item 1B. This is a proclamation for World Wish Month. The Make-A-Wish Foundation of Idaho is requesting a proclamation for the month of April 2024 to be declared World Wish Month in honor of Chris Grayush's wish to be a police officer in April 1980. This wish led to the formation of Make-A-Wish Foundation and the granting of hundreds of thousands of wishes throughout the world. The Idaho chapter of the Make-A-Wish Foundation has granted over 2,000 wishes since its creation in 1986 and continues to grant life-affirming wishes to children with critical illnesses throughout the state. They've requested a proclamation to raise awareness of our mission and help us reach their goal of granting a wish to every eligible child in Idaho. So therefore, I, Alan Davis, Mayor of Hayden, Idaho, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 will be celebrated as World Wish Month in recognition of the anniversary of Chris Grayush's wish that inspired the founding of Make-A-Wish and subsequently Make-A-Wish Idaho and the global wish granting movement. And I do apologize if I butchered horribly Chris's last name. All right, moving on to our favorite consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are action items. We have approval of revised February 27, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, approval of March 12, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, approval of the reappointment of Keith Gibson to the Planning and Zoning Commission, acceptance of David and Deborah Findley dedication of right-of-way and grant of easement, acceptance of Curtis and Caroline Potter grants of easement, acceptance of Ronald and Pamela Baxter grant of easement, approval of DCI Engineers Incorporated right-of-way acquisition service agreement for Ramsey Honeysuckle Roundabout, ratification of bills paid on 3/14/24 and 3/19/24, and approval of bills for payment. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the consent calendar of all items 2A. Should I say it all? The full
See, as
verbiage?
presented, or 2A through 2I?
As presented, 2A through 2I.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call, please.
Council,
Do we have discussion? Do we have discussion first, Mr. Mayor?
If there is discussion to be had.
Yes, sir. I would just like to say that on the appointment of Keith Gibson, that Keith Gibson is a stellar member of our Planning and Zoning Commission. I do object to Planning and Zoning Commissions being in the consent calendar, though, because this is something that the City Council has a part of approving and disapproving. So in the future, I would like to see appointments moved elsewhere in the agenda.
Thank you. I am aware.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
This goes on the bills for payment, and maybe I missed it because there's a lot of numbers there, but I didn't see where we paid the sheriff.
It was on.
And I was wondering why, if we didn't.
I can go double check, but I believe when I looked at this too, last month we had 2 payments, and so in April we'll have their April payment. And they now have instituted an invoicing process internally in their sorry, I should re-say that. I'm gonna get in trouble. So I looked at that too. I believe that when I checked that, we are on track with all of our payments. They'll show up on April's bill for payments for the April payment. And the sheriff's department has also instituted an invoicing process where they also invoice us when those payments are due. And previously that wasn't part. So there's some good double checks on all of our sides.
So I didn't see it, it wasn't there, so I didn't
Not
miss
for
it.
this one. No, you
Okay.
didn't miss it, and it's okay.
Okay, well, that's our job, so thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for checking.
Thanks, Matt. May we get a roll call now, please? Vote.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
And Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to visitor and public comment. I am going to, did you need something? Or just stretching? Oh, so, all right. If you have, if you wish to do a public comment, we have speaker cards, if you want to fill one out and bring it up. All right. And I'm going to skip my script tonight and just ask everybody to stay positive and not discuss anything that might be a land use item. First up, we have Art Collins.
I just want to comment on the,
Can you pop up to the mic?
are you
State,
going to have public comment on the agenda item of,
well, all the public comments are right now.
on 4A? You would have to say, do we get to?
There's no public hearing where you would comment. So in lieu of that, the comment section is now.
Okay, that's fine.
So, yeah, give us your name, please, at the podium and your city where you live.
There's copies for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
So Art, how much of a heads up would you like that you're getting to 3 minutes?
Okay, it's Art Collins, 1214 Glenmore Court, Hayden, Idaho.
All right, go ahead.
What I'm proposing, you have it in front of you, I'm not going to read it because you can read as much as I can, really. It's a proposed formation of a citizen advisory committee as an alternative to the agenda item of 4A. It's an alternative proposal. It's not a demand, it's a proposal. And first to decide who would be the decision maker to form the committee. And I've got three options there because there's been a lot of different ways that you're approaching the comprehensive plan. Then there I've listed proposed decisions that are pertinent to form the committee. There are certain things that need to be cited, okay? Then if the committee then is approved, there's a process by which the committee will proceed. And I listed those. And then I made the intent of the proposal. This is not just just, you know, doing something for the H of it. No, this has a special intent. It's to implement the purpose of the whole code of Idaho land use planning, which is to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the people of sort of Idaho. That's an implementation of this proposal. Also, it's to respond to the results of the citizen survey. The one thing that's really disturbing to me as a citizen, maybe you don't care, 60% of the people that did the deal don't even know we have a comprehensive plan. Wait a minute, that disturbs me as a person. Maybe you don't care, but I think that's something else.
Hey, Art.
Don't even know that we have a comprehensive plan.
Comments to us, please.
Okay,
Thanks.
so I've listed the intent of it. So I pass it out, and if any members of the audience, I got a few other extra copies. If you'd like a copy of it,
Art.
I'm sitting right there, I'll give you one.
Okay.
So that it's a proposal to an alternative to the agenda item of 4A.
Okay,
Alternative. Proposal.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Art.
All right, our next public comment is Lisa Moore, who I'm sure is going to do a much better job with Make-A-Wish than I did.
Actually, it's Lois Moore.
I'm sorry.
I had a quick fill that out. Years ago, I was coming back on an airplane from Washington DC, and I spoke to the people sitting next to me, and they had a young man. He was on the Make-A-Wish flight. It had been his wish to go to Washington DC. I was so impressed by that I started making donations to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which in Idaho was based in Boise. Well, several months ago, there came an item out in the newspaper saying the Make-A-Wish now is in, I just lost it, is here in Coeur d'Alene. I just lost my thing. It's on Hebron Place in Post Falls, a local Make-A-Wish thing. So if any of you are interested in donating, it's nice to have something local instead of our money going to Boise. And I'm glad that you did the proclamation for the month. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. And last, we have Mayor Purcell. I'm sorry, the title sticks with you till you die. Welcome back.
Former is most accurate. Mr. Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of council, we have a big traffic problem in Hayden. This problem is not caused by growth in Hayden, but by growth in outlying areas outside of Hayden, north and east of us. It's only going to get worse with the development of Hayden Canyon. I'll get right to the point by citing a few facts, and these are real facts. Number one, the outdated cost figure to improve traffic flow on Government Way is about $6.5 million. Much of this cost is due to obtaining the right-of-way land for the intersection improvements. These projected costs are low due to skyrocketing property values that we have here. Number two, for our city to raise just $1 million, it will cost the homeowner of a $500,000 house $155 in increased property taxes. That's if you can find a house in Hayden for $500,000 anymore. Number three, without expanding HURA boundaries, HURA cannot participate in resolving our traffic problems simply because the improvements are outside of the current district boundary. Number four, for the city to fix these traffic problems without HURA's involvement, it will cost the owner of that $500,000 home over $1,000 in increased taxes without HURA's involvement. In most of our neighborhoods, particularly the huge ladies and gentlemen up front, that's actually closer to $2,000 in your neighborhood. And remember, these increased tax numbers are low. As a former mayor of Hayden, I'm well acquainted with HURA. It's not perfect, but its benefits to its citizens far outweigh its liabilities. The misinformation generated by those opposed to this HURA expansion simply astounds me. HURA does not and will not raise our taxes. Hayden's tax base will not decrease if it's expanded. Hayden will continue to receive what it now receives in taxes. One of our council members' websites published a segment on HURA expansion a week ago that had many inaccuracies in it. It was changed a couple of days later, but it's still not accurate. And then the council member states that they are trying to educate our citizens with misinformation. I would be embarrassed. This needs to stop. I've looked at the background of the state laws that established our urban renewal agency framework. Urban renewal agencies were established to be independent of local politics, a check and balance system to keep local politicians honest, so to speak. Some of our council members want nothing less than to assume control over this semi-independent body by agreements and contracts, exactly what the legislation intends to prevent. If you want to change that, change the law. But our local urban renewal agency operates in strict conformance with our current state laws. Ladies and gentlemen, we have two ways, and only two ways of funding remedies to our traffic problems. The first is to have HURA involved through the district expansion. The second is to raise taxes to fund it by a huge amount. If you council members vote tonight against expanding HURA, you are voting in favor of raising our citizens' taxes. That's the only other way to do it. That's a fact, and we will remember. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I don't have any other visitor or public comments, so now we will move into unfinished business. The first item is a comprehensive plan revised and goals and policies remand to planning and zoning for public input. So with this one, originally, the plan was to take our work. Our city council and our planning and zoning commission have been working since late last year to update our goals and policies, and we were going to send that off to a consultant to have it evaluated. This week, we decided instead that we would kick it back down to planning and zoning to have the public comment period, so that when we do send what we send to the consultant, it's the most accurate thing that we want to move forward with. That is about the only thing I've got to say about this now. We're just looking for a concurrence from city council to remand to planning and zoning our revised goals and policies. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'm glad that that change was made. I was a little concerned when I heard right after our second workshop that it was going to be sent to the consultant. I'm wondering, however, if we might also, as a council, do our own deliberation on this. And part of the reason that I would like to do that is because I learned a whole lot of new information and perspectives at our workshop that we had last Monday that included the developers. And there's a few things that we currently have in the revised goals and policies that I'd like us to look at again. And I can provide examples if you wish to, but.
I don't need examples. I will share with you this. I'd rather keep the positive workflow going and not punt back to yet another meeting. I'll give you a great example. Matt had some thoughts after our last workshop, and he worked with me and Lisa and I, and we understood what he was passionate about and worked those into what we were going to kick down to planning and zoning. Every single city council person has access to me and has access to Lisa. And if there are things that you wish to champion, I will encourage you all to do exactly that. So I'm for hearing ideas if you have some and working those into planning and zoning. But what I really don't want to do is have yet another special meeting every month that we delay this. I mean, the whole idea, the end that we're working towards when we started this is city ordinances that better match our last citizen survey. So every month we play around with our words is one more month we don't get to those ordinances. And I believe it's our goal collectively to get to that level.
Okay.
So I just want to say, I guess, if you have something you're passionate about, by all means, email me, we'll make time, we'll sit down, we'll talk about it, we'll figure out how to incorporate those as we kick them down to planning and zoning.
Okay, so what I hear from you then is that, first of all, I thought there was a kind of a finality in our last workshop and that we were done. But now what I'm hearing is that if I have a few concerns after our workshop we had last Monday, I can get together with you and Lisa and we can talk about edits to it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm hoping for not a complete redo.
Yeah, no, I
If
get
it's more of, again, I'll use Matt as an example. He wanted some fiscal responsibility built in. We hadn't talked about that. It was an obviously good idea, so we incorporated it. There's some happy, glad changes, fine.
Okay.
Okay? Yes.
Yes. Well, I would like to agree with Councilmember Schaefer that I would like to also see an additional meeting of just the 4 council members. Ultimately, it's the 4 of us who need to take ownership of the plan, and we need to sign off on it together. And the comp plan was important to all of us in our different elections. And also, my proposed vision statement was never discussed in our meetings. And my vision statement includes things that I saw in the survey, such as small town feel, home ownership, family-friendly community, and those terms are left out of the plan right now. And I am passionate about this. And talking with you in your office is well and good, but with open meeting laws, and with the public being involved, I would prefer to have that done in an open meeting.
Well, that'll be for city council to decide. Having said that, regardless of city council's decision, my office remains open to any city council member that doesn't feel like their voice was heard well enough during the process.
Mayor,
Yes, Matt?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
To our legal counsel. IC 67-6507, what's that?
It's part of the local land use planning act, sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
jump in.
yeah. I'll look it up while you ask your
Well,
question.
is it an Idaho law?
Correct. It's a statute that's under the local land use planning act establishing planning and zoning commissions.
And as a municipality, we have to follow that, right?
I don't mean to jump in for you.
No, go ahead.
I'm not the attorney, just for the record. But I am a certified land use planner, so the state of Idaho has established governing rules around municipalities or taxing districts that choose to engage with the Planning and Zoning Commission as part of an extension of the body of council. And if you so choose to do that, these powers are the powers provided for that commission within the state law.
Yeah, so we have to follow the law, right?
If you've created a Planning and Zoning Commission, you should follow it.
Okay, bear with me, I'm getting there. So what it says after the quotation here, provide for citizen meetings, hearing surveys, or other methods. And what I propose is that, based on Idaho law, that we include our citizen survey, which right there says we can do. And I guess I'll make that a motion that we include the citizen survey to the 2014 comp plan in the appendix as part of the comp plan. It's the voice of the people. It says that citizens' surveys are part of the law, so I think we should follow the law. So that's my motion, that we include that.
Is that an official motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to second that. I think that's a great idea.
Well, that's a question I have is, I don't think we can just add something to the comprehensive plan on the fly. I believe that could be done as part of a comprehensive rewrite or update process.
Okay, let's make that as part of the process that, but I want to follow the.
To amend a comprehensive plan, it goes through the same process as to amend the zone map. So if we add text or change text in the comprehensive plan, it requires at a minimum 2 public hearings, one before planning and zoning and one before city council.
Right, but we're planning on making adjustments to the comp plan.
Right, but all I'm saying is that you've made the motion to include the survey in the comprehensive plan before, and we would include that when we brought those changes forward to the comprehensive plan to add that information in the appendix. All I'm saying is you've added that before.
So it sounds like we need to withdraw the
Well, I'll
motion
amend my
and restate
motion
it.
and just say that it be part of the process that's in place where we're considering these policy and goal changes. Does that meet Idaho law?
And just to be clear, the Idaho law encourages the planning and zoning to engage with surveys. It doesn't say because you have a survey, it has to be included, but I appreciate the comment with regard to the intention for planning and zoning to incorporate that. But just for a point of clarity.
So do I need to restate my motion? Do we have it? That's part of the process where we're looking at changing the comp plan's policies and goals, that this be placed in to the appendix.
I guess the question I have, Mr. Mayor, would be whether or not we're looking at 2 motions or 1 motion. Because if we are looking at 1 motion and that's it, then we are not addressing the question at hand, which is what's been agendized today.
Right,
I question whether or not that is within the agendized motion. I think it's fair to include it together, but to separate the two would be.
So the proper thing I'm hearing to say is to put it on the agenda for next time so that the motion can be made as the council person desires,
Well,
right?
again, what's been put on the agenda for tonight's meeting is to consider the revised goals and policies to be remanded back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for public input.
Right.
If Councilman Roeder wants to include in that consideration of the survey as part of the future revised plan, I think it's a directive planning, planning and zoning can take under that direction, but I want to be careful that we're not creating a new agendized item
Right.
that doesn't have a motion to attach it with. Does that make sense?
So Lisa, so that I do it precisely, what should my motion sound like?
I think you need to reference the agenda item, and the memo that staff provided, me in particular, provided you at the top of that motion in black, it says agenda item. And then 2 paragraphs down has the recommended action or motion that's provided to you. And I would encourage you to follow along those lines if you want to be within what's been agendized tonight. I don't want to tell you how to vote.
I think, Matt, it might be better to get it on the agenda for next meeting and put it in then. I mean, we have the time.
And what would change from what I could do tonight to the next meeting? I know that I heard like there could be 2.
I just don't want to violate any open meeting rules by saying we adjusted the agenda illegally. That's the only thing I care about. I mean, frankly, if it goes in tonight or 2 weeks from now, it doesn't make a difference to me. I just don't want somebody to say that we broke the law.
Yeah, I agree. It's already happened.
We're helping.
Can I?
Sure.
Okay, if I heard what you just said, basically you're saying on the agenda, action 4A, it says comprehensive plan revised goals and policies, that's it, remanded to planning and zoning for public input. If it had said revised goals and policies and citizen survey,
Right.
then that could be in the motion. But because it does not say on the agenda item, we can't just throw in there the citizen survey as part of it.
Can I just interject just briefly here, just about the citizen survey? So when we looked at the goals and the policies, when City Administrator Brett Boyer was still here, he prefaced our goals and policies discussion with the then City Council by starting with the citizen survey. It's been a part of the discussion since day one. When we went back to workshop with planning and zoning, he prefaced the goals and policies discussion with the citizen survey. So the citizen survey is the point of what the goals and policies were built off of. The goals and policies, the citizen survey as an appendix to the potential amendments to the comprehensive plan has always been addressed as a reference point that we would reference in the appendix because it was the jumping off point for the changes in the goals and policies. So all I'm saying is that I don't think it needs to be in a motion anywhere because it has always been known as from day one that it was part of the process. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but when was the comprehensive plan finalized? 2020? And we didn't do the survey until a couple years ago, so no, it wasn't part of that.
No, it will be. That's what I'm saying is that when the changes come forward for the comp plan, that survey will be added in as, that's all I'm saying.
It will be a part and parcel of the overall comprehensive plan.
But what she's trying to say is that the goals and policies as contemplated by planning and zoning relied on the survey, so therefore it is already an appendix. So that's
But it's not in the appendix, and I want it
Not
in the
yet,
appendix.
but it will be if we amend the plan.
Okay, so however we have to deal with that, I want to,
You don't have to at this point. It's
okay, so
already-
do we have a commitment? It will be an action item coming up next
You
meeting?
won't need to, it's already part of the record.
That we will have, that we will consider including the citizen survey in the appendix of the 2040 comp plan.
I'm not sure how I can make this more clear.
That's what I want, and I want to make sure that if we're going to move it to another meeting, that's what I'm asking.
What I hear Lisa saying is that the actual pages of the survey don't go in the comp plan. They are the basis of the comp plan, that's a given.
It would be an appendix, so those.
It is an
the-
appendix.
We would likely bring forward the summary of I don't know that we bring every survey.
So it sounds like it's already part of the process. There's no reason, there's no need for us to direct a motion or anything. It's going to happen.
It's already part of it, and
It's
that's,
going to be in the appendix of the 2040 comp plan. That's what I want.
As amended.
as amended, yes.
Okay, and Tom's been waiting.
Yeah, sorry.
Good.
So was I any more frantic, or was that?
No, I heard, saw you the
Okay.
first time.
I just want to clarify then, because this is important to me. If what you say is true, Don, does that mean it becomes a matter of record? Can city council cite the results from the citizen survey?
You have not adopted the revised comprehensive plan.
I'm not asking about whether we adopt it, I'm just asking if A is B true.
I think what Tom's getting at is we have to consider the comprehensive plan when we make decisions. We look at the evidence presented and the standards of approval. Since the comprehensive plan often is part of the standards of approval, I think what he's asking is, can he quote that section of the comprehensive plan then?
Once it's adopted.
To which, yes, I would say once adopted,
Awesome,
yes.
great, okay.
All right, is there any other discussion? Can we get a motion to?
I have one more thing I'd like to say. I'm sorry. I know, I owe you a lot here. I'm gonna, since Matt started this off, I'm gonna follow up. Besides Matt's concern, I'm also concerned about citizen involvement in this. And we've heard from Mr. Art Collins a couple times about, he has offered his services and I'm not saying who is a match for this. What I am saying is it a relevant discussion that we should be having about including some kind of citizen commission in this process as we clean up and update the,
I think that might be more appropriate for a roundtable discussion.
okay, I want to, just want to get that out there, and I don't need to beleaguer it tonight. I just would like it acknowledged as maybe an item for future discussion.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we adopt the comprehensive plan, advised goals and policies, to remand it to planning and zoning for public input, as well as coming back to the city council for one more meeting.
That's not what the action item is. The action item is to remand the revised goals and policies back to planning and zoning for public input.
Maybe
That
I
is-
can help clarify. The substance of your motion is going to be talking about an entire body of information, including surveys and everything you see mentioned in the Idaho code and everything that planning and zoning has done. And so you're all just agreeing to take that whole body of information and remand it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, not pull some out, add some in, or anything like that.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Let's see, yes, I would. I would like to move that we bring this comprehensive plan revision back to the city council for one more go-over.
Again, that's not what our agenda item is. Our agenda item is to take the comprehensive plan, revised goals and policies, and remand it to planning and zoning for public input, or not.
Okay, one more time. I move to deny that the comprehensive revised goals and policies get remanded to planning and zoning for public input.
Okay, there's a motion. Do we have a second? I'm not hearing a second. Is there another motion that council wishes to make?
Sure. I would move that the comprehensive plan, revised goals and policies be remanded to the planning and zoning for public input.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I'm hearing none. May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
No.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
And Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item 4B is an action item, review of public comment and authorize staff to proceed with Phase 1B construction of Ramsey Road Extension Project. Is there any brief or anything, Alan?
Yeah, last Friday,
we held an open house on this topic.
Okay,
Can everybody hear me? I'm feeling a little hoarse today.
sound off.
City Administrator, myself, and Rob Wright were there to present the information to the public. Council members, Sandra White and Ed Priest attended either briefly or in part. We had 2 exhibit boards that displayed the map, alignment, and the construction phases for the Ramsey Road project. The staff engaged in talking with the attendees, explaining the project, the scope, proposed order change to the phasing, and it was attended by 3 individuals. No comment cards were submitted, no comments were presented at the meeting other than thank you for sharing this information. 2 comments were submitted through the online form. 1 comment was emailed. And summary of that is, do not complete the project, not in favor of a roundabout at Lancaster Ramsey. Enjoy taking Lancaster Road due to limited traffic control devices. Spend money on law enforcement and street striping. Roundabout on Lancaster should be 2 lanes. Priority should be connecting Ramsey, not Buckles. First choice to construct Phase 1A or at least rebuild roadway surface following utility installation work before constructing Phase 1B. And there was, the intent was to find if there was a strong, we're to come up with the right words.
Preference?
Conflict with going with Phase 1B over Phase 1A. I don't think with the attendance that we, and the number of comments we received that I would conclude that that's what took place.
Okay, so staff is recommending accepting public comments received on the March 22nd open house and authorizing the staff to work with LHTAC to proceed with Phase 1B of the Ramsey Road Extension Project. Is there any discussion or is there a motion?
A motion that the staff recommends accepting of the public comments received at the March 22, 2024 open house and authorize the staff to work with LHTAC to proceed with Phase 1B of the Ramsey Road Extension Project.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, go ahead.
I second it,
And a
Mr.
second. May we get a roll call, or is there any discussion? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
And Council President Roder?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item 4C, which is consider Hayden Urban Renewal District expansion request and authorize staff to conduct an eligibility report pursuant to Idaho Code 50-2033. For this, we have a presentation by our city administrator.
I apologize, this went to sleep, so hopefully. Okay.
For the public's knowledge, city council is considering up to 6 areas in the city to expand our urban renewal agency.
Okay. The presentation that I'll be going over with you is also, you've received a copy of it that you can follow along with you. Most importantly, I want to point to the end of the slides, which gives you, I believe there's 4 draft motions, and we'll go over those 4 motions here shortly, but it's supposed to coincide with the respective areas within the HURA expansion for consideration tonight. So as mentioned by the mayor, tonight's decision is to consider directing staff to prepare the eligibility study to include the recommended areas as agreed by council. We've categorically placed these into 3 areas: improve existing streets and intersections, develop previously undeveloped areas, and encourage economic development. Excuse me, I'll back up. This was also similarly the same areas as provided by the mayor when we did our workshop regarding the HURA expansion. So as we look at the improved existing streets and intersections, we have 4 different locations. I'll kind of quickly cover those: 1B, 1A, 1F, and 1K. These are areas that surround an intersection, and as such, it's been determined by the legal counsel for the HURA that they cannot invest funds to improve those intersections because those properties are not included. So in order for the city to move forward on any design plans or any execution of design plans, so meaning there some engineering, construction documents or bidding those, these properties have to be included in the district. Any questions on this slide? I'm going to try to go quickly through this, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the zoning of those properties right now?
I do not know.
Should be
I can
commercial.
There's a map here, you know.
Okay.
I can rely on my staff to provide you that, but I wasn't prepared with that question. So if we can get back with you on that?
No, Government Way, let's see, 1A and 1B are in the Central Business District. Thank
Okay,
you.
K and F are commercial.
1F and 1K, I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head.
Those are
I don't
commercial.
Figure that out.
And I just wanted to make note that the A and the B are commercial, in the future land use map, the west side is commercial, the east side is mixed use.
And just to be clear, those are not zoning districts, those are designations.
Okay.
Sorry, what was that? What did you say?
Those are not zoning districts, those are designations. They're future designations, which means your zoning doesn't necessarily equate to your land use designations on your future land use.
Yeah, but
Okay.
So, let's see, Government Way in Wyoming is commercial, and Government Way in Lacey is also commercial.
For the win.
right. Thank you.
So develop previously undeveloped areas. This is a location of property that the city's shown an interest in wanting to protect from more urban development as it relates to housing development. So this option would give the city a chance to plan for the future growth of this particular area.
I also believe we have a historical building on that piece of
Correct.
land that we would like to preserve.
Any questions before we move on?
Does the development on E include housing?
No, there's no plan development on this. It's simply to look at an option to protect it from immediate sale and development thereby.
So between the western boundary of that large field
Oh, the western boundary of the field, okay,
and Government Way, that's all private property there.
correct.
So they would become part of urban renewal.
So to be clear, when you don't become part of the urban renewal, that landowners don't become part, the land comes within the jurisdiction.
They
of
go
the-
within the jurisdiction and then the different taxing districts applies, correct?
I'm not sure if I understand.
Well, right now, they pay taxes to, the handful of different taxing districts. Once that happens, the majority of their taxes will go to, into the HERS bank. Is that, no, it's not?
So it's only the increment. So the base amount that the property value is would go back to the
That's what I
beginning of
meant
this
to
year.
say, yes, thank you.
So it's only the increment that would be, and it's only on certain taxing entities, it's not all of them.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me.
Lisa,
So-
good question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can I give an example and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Because this is an issue that it is difficult to understand, a lot of confusion about it. If I'm getting it right, let's just use round numbers. So let's say property A there on the corner is valued at $500,000, round number. And they currently pay $500 in taxes. Next year, let's say it goes up to 600,000 and they pay $525 in taxes. Again, that $500 base will still go to us and everyone else. Her would get the $25.
Yes.
Just the increment increase, they don't get the entire amount, doesn't go to her. It's just that incremental increase, if any, type of thing.
And to be clear, it's not always-
I understated myself, and I knew that principle.
It's not all,
already,
it's
so-
not the full 25 either. There's
Yeah,
still
it's
certain
just the
taxing
increment.
districts that maintain their allocation, school districts.
I just wanted to make sure I understood that even private properties were included in the taxing, the increment tax.
That is the only property that's included in the increment is private property, because public property has a value of 0.
Residential property versus undeveloped property.
Sure.
Okay.
I think I know what you're saying. Go ahead.
So this applies to all the pictures I was, just for the record, what is the base value going to be frozen at when this
It would be
happens?
whatever the value that the assessor set, and it will roll back to the first of the year, so 2024, whatever that value is. And I do have those values as of 2023 values, and I'll go through some of that. I have them in an Excel spreadsheet. I can give them to you if you wish to see those broken out by the respective categories.
So it doesn't go back to the beginning of the urban renewal?
No, it just goes back to the date. And if you were to approve the boundary expansion in this year, it would roll back to the first of the year value. So it would only be the increment going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Encourage economic development. This was a location north of Lancaster. I believe this property is zoned commercial. Well, I guess it says commercial properties. See, I'm not even reading. This is to encourage economic development, and again, one of those pillars of categories that we talked about earlier in the slides. Any questions? Okay, moving on. I'm not going to read this. This is just simply citing Idaho Code when Welchcomer provided this summary of the process in which we have to go through almost a year ago, it was in May of last year. They summarize the same information, but essentially the revenue allocation area cannot exceed 10% of the total assessed value of the city. And then also the boundaries of the HURA district cannot exceed 10% of the entire city area or the existing area. And it shows you the code section. So I mentioned that I had done the work based on 2023 values. 2024 values have not come out yet from the assessor. So when we look at that, we look at the 2023 assessed value of Hayden city limits. We're at some big numbers, we'll go with that. The assessed value of the revenue allocation area, 299 million. The expansion area, when you total up all of those values, all those individual parcels, is valued at 24,261,261. And the total taxable valuation, so when we add that 24 back into the 299, the requirement right now is about 10.06. So that means we can't include all of it if we base it on 2023 values. So at some point, I'm gonna make a recommendation on where I think we should pivot. But right now, we're exceeding that. But as we look at the second section, which is the total district size, and the plan says 720. In the May letter of, from the HURA's executive director showed 704. So if we use a more conservative number, the total acreage can't exceed 70.4 acres. Total acreage right now combined 62.10. So right, that section we meet. So when we talk about the decision tonight, we'll again mention that staff, you'll be directing staff to prepare the eligibility study included in the recommended areas as agreed by council. I mentioned that there are 4 draft motions. They will be respective of their categorical areas: improve existing streets, develop previously undeveloped areas, and encourage economic development. The last one is really a motion to maintain the existing boundary. So you have that also provided.
And Lisa, just to be clear to council, we decided to break this into 4 separate motions so that you all could more easily agree on any of the one as opposed to tying one to the other to get a motion through. We thought it would just be too difficult.
So draft motion to approve the sections relating to improve existing streets and intersections. You don't have to follow my motion. I just provide this to you as a means of helping to articulate a correct motion for the record for staff, but you certainly can decide to amend it. But it simply states, I move to recommend approval of the boundary expansion of Hayden urban area revenue allocation area pursuant to Idaho Code 50-2033 to accommodate and improve existing streets and intersections. And then lists those particular intersections, 1A, 1B, 1F, and 1K. It needs to be also
Sorry about that.
followed with and authorize the staff to move forward with amending the original district eligibility study to include the mentioned areas. That's just the approval, the specific locations, and then the direction. So as we move through the rest of the motions, which you have in front of you, This is the next one, the develop previously undeveloped areas, so that's 1E. And then 1G. I mentioned that staff had a recommendation, and I will provide you, oh, sorry, I missed the fourth one. This is to make a motion to remain, because it's imperative that we get a decision point at this time, staff is recommending that a motion be included as a conclusion of this particular action. It's been going on for a year now, so we're asking for that clarity. And it would be simply to move to recommend leaving the Hayden urban renewal agency's revenue allocation area as it was originally adopted upon creation of the Hayden Urban Renewal District. So I mentioned that staff had a recommendation, and I do want to provide that to you. And my recommendation is that because we have to reduce one of the areas due to the fact that we are over our allocation value, and that was to look at the properties off of north of Lancaster. Right now, there's a lot of interest from the city, as mentioned in some of the public comment that was received tonight, that we focus on our existing intersections to offset the cost on the taxpayer for the improvements of those intersections and the acquisitions of property for the benefit of the public and forego economic development at this time. That's simply my recommendation. You can take it for what it is. Happy to answer any questions.
Lisa, just for clarification, if city council does forego any of the areas, urban renewal is only allowed to expand once through 2029. So whatever we decide tonight is my understanding that's a once and done kind of thing.
Well, you haven't technically used your one-time expansion by taking no action tonight, so that still is an opportunity available to the council.
Right.
But once you do this, it is one and done.
Yep, that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you. Council, any questions for Lisa?
I have some questions. Could we go back to the map of the A, B, E, F options? Okay. So with option 1A, I was wondering about exactly what is proposed to be done on that intersection. Do we have an exact plan?
To my knowledge, and I'm going to refer to my staff at this point to help educate me after being here 3 months, I don't have a lot of the background data, but this is the only intersection in which we have done some design work. So I can't speak to that specifically, and I don't know that they can tonight either, but I would ask them to provide any information they may have.
There was 1A, is one we're
Well,
talking about.
actually, all of them. Do we have exact plans
Okay.
in mind for them?
The design has not been completed, so to tell you exactly what it's going to look like is not practical. However, 1A is to improve that intersection, and I believe the work is to include a right turn lane and to be able to extend the length of the left turn bay in order to reduce the queue lengths at that intersection to make it function better. B, we don't have a concept layout in total, but it includes a signalization. 1K is that Miles? Lacey. That's Lacey?
K is Lacey, yes.
I have Government Way in Wyoming and Government Way in Lacey. I don't know which one's which.
K is Lacey.
K is Lacey.
Okay.
K is Lacey. We do not have a design completed for that, so it's undetermined.
Ed?
Lisa, there's a chart in your office that has a little box on the side of it with what each of those and an allocation of funding and the like that I don't see in here.
Yeah, you're right. I don't have that copy of that to disseminate to you electronically, so I can bring it in.
Yeah, because I think that to some degree might give us an idea of the plans that are in the probably preliminary stages, if you want to call it that, for each of these locations.
The transportation master plan calls out improvements to these, and they're signalized intersections. It does not go into the detail
Right.
of what's all included in the geometric improvements for those intersections. That would be determined during the time of design.
But in general, for our purposes tonight, it's not like we're just saying, hey, let's give it to us, and then we'll come up with something to do. There has been a preliminary, in the transportation plan, is probably what you just said, this is what we need to do at each of these various locations, and now we need to find
Each of those
funding.
locations has been defined in the transportation master plan as having deficiencies that
Right.
could be corrected to improve traffic,
Right,
improve the traffic flow.
okay. Are there other questions, Sandy?
Yeah, I was wondering if the projects would be, well, since they're not defined, I was just wondering if they would be limited to the defined projects, but it looks like they're all kind of wide open, not very well, not clearly defined. I would feel more comfortable knowing that we knew exactly what was being planned, exactly what the cost to the city of Hayden would be, and that we would know for sure beforehand what parts of right-of-way would need to be purchased and would eminent domain need to be exercised. So I think there's a lot of unknowns in here, and if we can't ask for a contract or a commitment from them, we're giving carte blanche in a lot of different ways that could even still cost us more if they decide, if Urban Renewal decides that they're only going to pay 50% of a project or 75% of a project, we could still get footed with a bill.
Yeah, and without this, we pay 100%, just to be clear.
What did you say, Lisa?
She said without it, we would pay 100%. Lisa, would it be fair? I wish to be patient with council. I understand their concerns. I'm not here to plug her, but we certainly need to move towards a decision. I see a parallel in tonight's decision with, like, for example, a zone map amendment. I know everybody wants to know what's going to be built there, but step one is to change the zone. In this case, I realize city council wants to know exactly what's going to happen, what's going to go where, but that's not what's being decided tonight. What's being decided tonight is simply, do we expand an area into HURA? Obviously, the details of whatever improvements are made consistent with our transportation master plan would be introduced at a later date. Is that fair?
I believe that's fair. I also know that if there's cost associated with going through some of the exercises.
It would have to go through city
Defining
council.
the design
Yep.
profile for these intersections, that it could also be offset with funding from her.
And again, I think it's good for the people here, and I'm going to try and correct me if I'm wrong, as I'd like to say, but historically, when it comes to HER's interaction with the city in infrastructure, roundabouts, whatever, they don't fund the entire thing, usually, okay? And in these cases, they're probably going to, there might be some federal grant money, there might be some budgeted money, and then HER is asked to contribute whatever maybe the shortfall amount may be. I don't know that HER, in some of these larger infrastructures, that HERA has funded the entire project. They're usually supplemental to get us to the finish line, if that's might be one way to put it. We say, HERA, can you contribute $1 million to this? And it might be costing us $3 million. We might be getting a grant for $1 million, we might have budgeted for $1 million with impact fees or whatever, but then we ask HERA for help, and HERA considers it, and says, okay, yeah. And then HERA basically, and this is probably general terms, writes the check at some point in time. They don't manage the project, they don't decide what.
The first step would be funding the design, which defines the project.
Right.
So we've defined that there's a deficiency. To analyze that deficiency is to find the most efficient improvements to correct it takes a substantial amount of effort and cost, and that would be the first step that would be funded. Once that's determined, then you fund the project itself, the construction phase.
But I'm just talking about where does
Right-of-way.
HERA's participation in it? They're just a funding mechanism for this, right?
They are.
We go to them and say, hey, can you help us? Because we need $1 million. And they will do what they do and either say yay or nay. And that's about, they don't manage it. They don't pick and choose which projects get this and that.
And I think, Alan, just for the clarity with the audience, HERA doesn't go out and independently do projects. In other words, they wouldn't improve our streets without it coming through the city.
They don't even enter into contracts. They enter into
Exactly.
reimbursement agreements with the city, so the city actually enters into the contracts
Exactly. Of which city council would be reviewed, would have approval or denial.
to approve the contracts in order to move
So,
forward.
so the point is, we're not selling out to HERA for whatever future fears we have here. Everything still goes through the city. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you for all the information. I actually learned some stuff tonight. To summarize, however, I just want to make sure that I'm kind of encapsulating the things I understand is, first of all, if we vote no, we pay 100% of these improvements, which everybody agrees we need.
That is correct.
Okay. Secondly, we do not have any idea how much HERA will actually contribute to the bottom line, or do we? Do we have a good feel? Do we, do?
So at the workshop that was held, it was my second day, so Monday, the first Monday in December, there was a board that they had up, this is from, oops, sorry, that does give some estimated amount of costs, but it doesn't necessarily stipulate the participation amount. So that was something that the city would have to work with her
Okay.
on.
Okay, so just let it be known that we don't really know how much HERA will help out, but any help is appreciated at this point.
Yes.
I got a look at the original Hayden Urban Renewal Capital Development Plan. And on page 13, section 305, it says that eminent domain may be used. Is that an authority that's given to HERA outside of city council involvement?
Again, these projects are city projects. The city would be the project manager on it. We would be the one enacting any type of acquisition property. HERA would just be a supporter or funder of either that full cost, partial cost, or no cost, depending on the agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor,
Matt.
can I add?
Matt, yes.
Thank you. I want to emphasize what former Mayor Scott said, is that if HERA doesn't participate, the taxpayer is going to pay it. I mean, that's the bottom line of it. So voting no means you want to increase taxes, basically. And that's not what I want to do. I want to utilize as much of that HERA money as possible. Now, without us, I know that I sit on the Urban Renewal Board, and we have already spent some money on designing or analyzing intersections on Government Way, and I forget which ones that we've done that for, but we understand there's problems, so that's why we're taking action to try to move forward to fix these things. Now, without including these properties, if you go up to the traffic map with all those intersections, to me, this is the first step. We have to get those in the urban renewal district because the law says we can't fund anything. Urban renewal cannot fund anything outside of a district. So that's why it's critical to get those properties in those intersections to be deemed urban renewal.
Matt, you might want to comment that in some of these intersections, we have 2 or 3 of the corners, but not all 4, and all 4 are required for HERA
It's
money
the
to be
opinion of
spent.
the civil council for the HERA district that if money were to be used, that it is the recommendation, which is why we're before council, to include all those properties around there in case there's a need to expand portions, even the design to a certain extent, into areas that's not within the district, money can't be spent. So now you're trying to parse out what is or isn't spent on those particular properties. So the recommendation was to come forward with an amendment.
So the way I look at it is, they're not going to put condos on those properties. You know, they're going to be, the urban renewal, if they include these if we tell them we want them in there, and if they qualify, then it's for intersections, not for housing, it's not for businesses, it's for intersections. So I don't see a need for a contract. Because you can't do anything else with it.
Right.
That's
Any other questions? Sandy?
I would just like to comment that from my understanding, voting no means protecting the public from unknown costs and projects, protecting the city of Hayden from development into other areas. They purchased the Owl Cafe without coming to the city of Hayden and asking. So there are things that they can do with these areas and properties that we cannot have a voice in. Thank you.
So are you opposed to purchasing the Al Cafe?
No, I'm saying that they can do a lot of things without going through the city of Hayden.
One thing they cannot do without going through the city of Hayden, though, I believe, is improve an intersection, correct?
Again, they're not improving the intersections. I just
yes,
want to make sure.
I understand.
That everybody understands that HURA is not going to be.
I'm just trying to keep us on point.
Yes, this would be a city-funded project.
If there aren't, are there any other questions, or would anybody like to make a motion regarding improving our
I'll take a
existing streets and intersections? It's right on the slide.
I'll take a stab at what I would like to do is, I move to recommend approval of the boundary expansion of the Hayden Urban Renewal Agency's revenue allocation area pursuant to Idaho Code 50-2033 for the following listed areas: 1A, 1B, 1F, 1K. And in addition, I authorize the staff to move forward with amending the original district eligibility study to include the mentioned areas.
Good, Eric? All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second his motion.
Okay, there's a second. May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember DePriest?
Good discussion on this motion?
Oh, so sorry. I apologize, council. That is my job to run this. Is there any discussion related to the motion?
I have some. I agree, I believe, with all of what Matt said there, but he left out E. And I understand why he probably left out E. That's the Maple Miles property.
That would be a separate motion.
That's a separate motion.
Oh, it is? Oh, my bad then. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, then no. So that is going to be taken separately?
Yes.
Along with G?
Yes.
Assuming
You're
somebody
all-
makes the motion, yes.
Yes.
I get it, okay.
Okay, is there any other discussion related to the motion? Hearing none, may I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
No?
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
And Council President Roder?
Yes.
Okay, and so now we're moving on to 1E, which is a discussion or entertaining a motion, a draft motion, a motion to approve or not approve developed, previously undeveloped areas. Anybody want to make a motion?
Could you repeat the motion again, please?
Probably
To
not.
discuss it?
Well, we asked questions and discussed. We can discuss more certainly, but at this point, unless we have questions, we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move to deny the 1E, moving forward with 1E.
Is that articulate enough, Eric?
I think so.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah. Now I can get into where I think I was going. I mean, I get it. It's it's kind of a, I know it's not the right term, but it looks like a shoestring or whatever it is, working down the road to get to that property there at the corner of Maple and Miles, 10 acres. I believe in single-family zone at 4 to 5 dwellings per acre. Do the math. As opposed to a park, possibly, or some open space preservation or whatever. I think those are pretty much the two choices that we've got here. And if an entity is not able to, what's the word I want to use here? Block it up, then my guess is we're going to be here down the road with a discussion about 40 to 50 houses in that little 10-acre slot. And then we'll see what people have to say about that when it comes to that. So that's probably, this decision that we're making on this right now is going to kick us one way or the other. Either we're not going to have the opportunity down the road to quite possibly, not guaranteed that this would come about or happen, but if we could acquire in some manner some open space there for a park or whatever, This is, just my opinion, I think our last chance to do it. And that's what I have to say about it, I guess.
Is there any other discussion?
Well, I'd like to respond to that, and I understand Councilman DePriest's concern, and my heart shares that concern. But I have heard that we don't really have any kind of guarantees over how much HURA will dedicate towards these different boundary expansions in terms of, like, we discussed the road improvements. I wrote down, my thought about this was that if the expenditures of funds were prioritized first towards 1A, B, E, and K, then I would be in favor of this. But what I hear is that I don't really know how much money HURA will dedicate towards those traffic improvements, which former Mayor Purcell pointed out we so desperately need. This is nice, but it's not my priority.
Okay, are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, without knowing how much HURA would give us in addition to improvements or the cost to the city, if it's a park, what's the plan for it? How many millions of dollars will it take to develop it? Who's in charge of it? If we turn it into, I mean, there's no guarantee that it's going to only be a park or an unused space for open space. What if urban renewal decides to put in there housing of some kind? We have no guarantee how that property will be used.
They can't do that.
They can't.
Again, I think, well, there are specific roles and responsibilities and opportunities that the HURA agency has as part of their authorization underneath the Idaho law, but they're appointed and placed there by the city, the mayor and the city council. So, and admittedly, they did, in my first month of being here, asked for some direction and priorities. So staff is working towards that. I wish I could come to you guys with priorities, but again, until we understand that it's even eligible, I mean, more than likely, they're not going to be participating at 100% of this, and the city's already allocated funds for that, but it will give them the option, or the city the option to work with them. That's all that we're asking for here.
Mayor?
Yes.
I do like open space, but I also like better traffic control. And that, to me, is what I weigh on this is, HURA anticipates it will have about $12 million that it will have use of until 2029. And so the appraisal on this 10 acres was like 1.9 million. And before that, we had it appraised before that, it was 1.6 or 1.3, something like that. So, you know, we're putting out, you'd have to, for her to buy this, you know, that's a big chunk of that $12 million to do something with a park. And that's where I have difficulty is, again, I weigh it out. I would rather see that money be used for intersection improvement than a park. We just spent about $1 million, maybe $800,000 to $900,000 on Crawford to finish part of that 10 acres that we own as a park. And HURA paid for that. So, you know, we've been spending money on parks, but again, my priority are streets, and I think that's what the people say too in our survey, so I agree with the people.
Sure, go ahead, Ed.
Okay, I understand I get it. I mean, this is a tough one. I don't know if park money could be used, if there's impact fees or whatever, if that could go towards purchasing it. But Matt, you said, and I think the biggest concern is traffic everywhere, not just out here in Government Way, but I don't know how many people travel Maple already, okay? And let's say the scenario happens that there's 40 houses that go in on that corner. We'll talk about traffic. Just all I'm going to say is forewarned.
Councilman DePriest, I did the math at 50 units times the average 7 trips per day equals 350 trips per day on that particular road.
And they would only have to widen one half of that road on their frontage, which isn't going to mitigate much of what's happening there right now, okay? And yet, the money needs to be parceled very carefully, and where and what, but I hope I'm wrong, but in a period of time down the road, those people living up in that area of Miles, there's a Miles and Maple and the like, maybe right there where screaming about the situation up in that, what is already narrow roads, compacted neighborhoods. So I know we can't do it all, I guess, but that's just my concern.
I'm going to add my comments to this one, and I ask City Council to not have any preconceived notions prior to hearing me out. Our city, in good faith, but without contract, has been working with the family that owns that land since last year. We have on that piece of land a historical structure. We also have another structure that could potentially in the future be used to raise revenue for the city. If this piece of property is acquired by her, our hands are not tied to do anything with it. The sole purpose of this expansion piece is simply to protect a rather large piece of land from infield fill. Every one of you and every land decision use I've been associated with tends to resist or exceptionally thoroughly scrutinize every little building development that goes in. And yet we have the chance to preserve 10 acres that, again, we've been working with the owner of the land for over a year to do that very thing. And you're saying, well, our priority is traffic. There's on the slide that Hura had in the January workshop, the money is allocated. Based on what I know, there is no danger of them running out of money to fix traffic in order to facilitate a partial funding of this piece of land. So yes, it might cost money down the road to put a park there or not. Maybe it stays a field. Maybe the couple of houses are put here and there. There's no plan for this except right now to prevent a bunch of homes from going in there. A developer will probably swoop in and put in exactly what each and every one of you says you don't want. So I'm asking you to consider that, please.
Could I have a review of figures, please? So what's the estimate in the total land value
The total land value.
of one,
It was praised at 1.9.
1.5.
and what is it that the city currently has?
450,
500.
500.
So a quarter of the value. Okay.
So I'd like to add, in the beginning, when this process has been going on for a few years, the discussion of the owners and one of our city council members was friends of, and it sounded really promising because we were told that there were people that would donate to buy this property, private people. And it came down to, well, okay, where's the money? No money. I would be open if those people came forward and, had a 1.5 million to donate to the city. There was even a discussion to put together a group or a small team of people that would solicit donations. And then we were told that if we needed 1.5 million, say, from private donations, and we got 400,000, we didn't hit the mark of 1.5, we'd have to give the money back.
Yeah, be that as it may, we can still do all those things and reduce the impact on HURA. Again, by putting this into the Urban Renewal Agency's district, all we're doing is protecting the land from being purchased by a developer.
And to further that point, it just gives us the opportunity to bring the HURA district, or the HURA board members and the council to the table for potential partial payment of that. It does not all of it. I mean, I think the point is taken quite well, and I've had conversations with some of these potential property, or what'd you call them, fundraiser folks, and they're very interested, but they want to see that the city's put the effort in. They want, more than likely, anytime you're getting grants or funders, they want to be seen as the last dollar to the table, not the first. And this opportunity of including this gives us the surety of knowing that we can go to those funders and say, you can be the last dollar. Because we are working with all options at the table. I think that's what we're asking for, is the opportunity to continue showing all options are on the table. But it doesn't mean that HERA will fund any of it. It just means that the option's open.
Wait a minute, what was that last part you just said?
Just means that the options remain open for us to engage the HERA agency.
This, in other words, this does not bind HERA to buy anything. It just simply puts it in the district, which makes it a possibility.
Sorry, but let's say, okay, we approve it we bring it into the district, and we are not able to arrange to secure it. Property owner could still then sell it to whoever. Am I mistaken with that thing? We're not really binding anything here. We're just trying to, as you say, create a situation, a scenario, whereas Lisa just said, and you're right, people, in most cases that are donating, especially a significant amount of money, want to see a lot of action, and they'll come in and fill it. And I think that just, let's say we do put it in there and things don't happen, it can still end up with a developer with it. Whatever, just because it's in the district doesn't necessarily save it, but it gives us the opportunity to try and preserve it.
No, but on that, we have been speaking with the family,
Right.
good faith conversations, and
Right.
as of right now, it is their intention to allow a combination of city, HERA, donors. Really, the
They've been very,
source of funding does not matter as long as we're able to secure its purchase so that it doesn't move to
they've been
development.
very patient. They could have sold this, what,
6
9
months
months, a
ago.
year ago.
Yep.
And they're trying to work with us on this
Yep.
and give us the opportunity.
Yep.
And if I were in their shoes, I'd be going, okay, it's that time. And if we go back and say, then I'm on the market right now at the highest, it's gone.
April is that time frame for us to check
Right.
back in.
Yep.
This issue is timely for that purpose. And again, this gives us a chance to go talk with these funders to show the city's interest in wanting to secure all opportunities for funding so that we can show that whatever their commitment level may or may not be, can be funded the difference, the gap with potential conversation with the Urban Renewal Agency.
So unless rescinded, we do have a motion on the table right now to not include 1E. That motion has been seconded unless the motion is rescinded or there any other conversation, we should hit a decision. Is there any desire to rescind the motion? I'm hearing none, so we need a roll call vote. This is again a vote to not include 1E.
Councilmember DePriest?
No.
Councilmember Schaefer?
No.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
And Mayor Davis?
No.
Okay,
Would anybody like to make another motion?
Yeah, I move to recommend approval of the boundary expansion of the Hayden Urban Renewal Agency's revenue allocation area pursuant to Idaho Code 502033 to accommodate and contemplate the development of the previously undeveloped area known as 1E, and authorize the staff to move forward with amending the original district eligibility study to include the mentioned areas.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second. Any discussion? Maybe get a roll call, please.
Council President Roder?
No.
Councilmember White?
No.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
And Mayor Davis?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, and this particular motion does not need to happen at this time if council's choice is to leave this one out. Remember, we are in excess of our percentage that we're required or allowed to take on by value by 0.06. And it was my recommendation that, given the need across the city when it comes to our intersections and our land acquisitions, the economic development in this area would possibly not be of consideration. So if council chooses not to make this motion, it would just die for lack of a motion to bring it in, and we would move on with the eligibility report as previously provided in your motions.
But if no motion was made to either approve or disapprove 1G, that's our one shot to.
Correct.
All right.
So I guess you could take it either way. You could make a
I just
motion.
recommend if I can, recommend to council a more direct, less ambiguous decision here. I think you should either recommend to approve this or not approve this as part of the expansion. Now, if they do hypothetically want to include this and to approve it, but it's over by 0.6%, what would be the process? Would we, as part of that study, direct her to squeeze off that 0.06 so we don't exceed 10%?
So we have two properties in this area. The property that's actually the most value is the property that's located at the intersection of Government Way and Lancaster. This is where there's a coffee stand already on the property, so I think it's valued at a little over $1 million. So you theoretically could look to remove just one of those two properties. I'd have to go pull that property to get, if you wanted a precise assessor parcel number, but I think at this point, I think the mayor's suggestion also meets that requirement.
Right, that we would just, as part of the eligibility report, the feedback would be to shave 1G if city council decides to include it as part of the expansion. Okay, so is somebody want to make a motion, or is there more discussion about 1G that needs to be happened?
Mr. Mayor, I move to deny 1G.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on denying 1G? And is that, Eric, is that enough, verbose enough of a motion?
It is.
Thank you.
Just one comment, Mayor, if I may.
Yep.
When it says encourage economic development, I get a little bit of angst with using tax money to encourage economic development. I think that the market should move on its own, and we have a lot of development going on. It doesn't need tax money to promote it. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Very well. Any other comments? So the only comment I have on this is simply, if you've ever had a Roth IRA or any of the kind of a retirement investment, you put money into something anticipating for it to grow. In this case, what we're trying to do is increase the amount of tax revenue available for projects in Hayden. And that's what 1G is about. And if council does not support that, then so be it. But I just want to make it crystal clear what the economic development investment is by including or not including 1G in our renewal agencies. Help me out, Lisa, the land.
Eligibility.
Eligibility, thank you very much. All right, so we have a motion and a second. I guess we need a roll call unless there's any more discussion.
Okay, repeat the motion so we make sure we
It's to
understand.
deny 1G.
Okay, thank you.
I believe you seconded it.
I did, I just want to make sure the verbiage is correct.
I will make sure you knew, yeah. All right, so roll call, please.
Councilmember DePriest,
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer,
I'm voting yes to deny, or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
I vote yes to deny.
Council President Roeder.
Yes.
And Councilmember White.
Yes.
Okay, Lisa, that closes 4C, correct?
Thankfully, yes.
All right, we're moving on to new business.
Mr. Mayor, before you move on to new business, can I just grandstand for a minute? Okay?
I might say point of order to you.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, may I grandstand for a minute on this recent vote? I just want to say that this what voting for assuming 1E philosophically went against the grain of my principles, but hearing what I heard, I'm taking it on faith that all parties are going to do their best to preserve this land without an excessive bill to the taxpayers, and that is why I voted for it.
Okay,
So,
thank you. All right, moving on to 5A, action item is the Arts Commission's request for supporting a retaining wall art project.
Want me to do it? Oh.
No, I was just going to do the summary. So 4th Street, between the roundabout at Honeysuckle and Prairie on the east side of a roadway, we have a concrete retaining wall. The Arts Commission has an idea for mural or artwork of some kind in a way to enhance this area of city through art. And I believe they are seeking your support to execute this project. Is that correct?
That sounds correct.
All right. So is there any questions? I believe we have a representative from the Arts Commission in the audience. If you have any questions, if not, we could entertain a motion to support it or not support it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yes. I was just wondering, with the, where in the code do we have standards for art? Like, what are the criteria used to determine what art and what donors are acceptable?
Currently, there is criteria for the Hayden Art Gallery that has been in the requirements since its inception, and that's what is used as criteria when evaluating for additional art, public art or artwork. And then any final recommended art piece, should this project move forward, from the Arts Commission would come forward to council for your consideration before moving forward with retaining an artist.
Oh, let's wait. Does anybody have any questions?
Just one, I'm not sure where is it, hopefully it isn't the city of Hayden's limits, city limits.
Yes.
Is it? I mean, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I
It's that
wonder.
bend on 4th Street is just after
Right
you go
north of
to
Prairie.
south before you get to Fanouken Park.
On the east side, okay.
North.
Yeah, on the north side of
Yes.
the, no, on the east side of the street.
Right.
And it bends around towards
But
Prairie.
that's in Hayden.
Yeah.
It's in
Okay.
the city limits and it's within our right of way.
Okay, that's all, thanks.
I mean, are we not going to have a presentation or are we? Okay,
No, this is just,
Okay.
so the Arts Commission is seeking a request from City Council to support a project.
I mean,
That's it.
I'll comment then if I may.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's a blank wall right now. And, you know, I think we've all seen attractive mural work or whatever, attractive artwork, and then we've seen artwork where we're going, what the heck is that type of thing? I guess there is no guarantee, and I'm going to have to assume, and I know what it means, that we would get approval of a depiction or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And where we can all look at it and go, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
You know, type of thing. So, okay, that would
Yes,
be my.
again, this is just support
Right.
to go for the project. It's not to finalize what's going to be
No,
painted. It's
okay.
not going to be, everybody will get to see what's getting painted and say yes or no. This is, again, they're just seeking support for the project.
Another quick question, if I may, Mayor.
Yes.
Who owns the retaining wall? Do we have permission?
It's within the city of Hayden right of way.
No, that's not the question. Who owns it?
The City of Hayden,
Do we?
I assume, if it's in the right of way. Yes, thank you.
Okay, we do own it? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Would somebody like to make a motion or are there more questions?
Ask another question. Would this also include showing to the city of Hayden where people could come in, like in the gallery, we would have pictures of it where we could get public input on it before it comes to the council?
I'm sure our Arts Commission would be happy to work with you and our public.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
All right, I would move that we approve the Art Commission request for support of public art project.
For retaining wall?
It's not on there, but yeah, sure.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
And Councilmember
Yes.
DePriest?
Okay, this one I believe we have a presentation for. It's action item J 2021-0146, Bettis minor subdivision request for a one-year extension of preliminary plat approval.
I'll just show you where it's at.
Thank you, Donna.
And Mark North is here. Who wants a phone?
Now, this is not going to be a public hearing, just for everyone's,
Who wants a phone?
probably
Is that
mine.
your phone?
Yeah, I'll get it later.
Let's see. I can do this. So periodically, we have subdivisions that, for a variety of reasons, don't complete within 2 years of the time that they were approved. And in this case, the subdivision received an additional 1-year extension, which brought them up to the spring of this year. And so they're just not quite done yet. So, so this is the Bettis addition. And for all of you that know Bettis excavation, they've pretty much resided back here on this piece of property for a long time. And Ken is transitioning the Bettis excavating to Nate, right? Is that right? And they're migrating the excavation out of that single-family residential lot and migrating it to a minor subdivision. They haven't completed to this point forward, and I can bring Bart up and he can answer kind of where they're at and why they're asking for their extension for a year. And I was gone last week, so you got a combination memo of me and Rob.
What is that just to the south, the large lot? Yeah.
That's
Okay,
the
okay,
church.
yeah, yeah.
it's almost our backyard.
Do you have questions for me? Questions for him?
Why,
Have they started building? Or what,
That would be a
Where-
question for Mr. North.
okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would just point to the memo that does state that the status of the project shows that the cursory review of the file indicates water and sewer services have been installed within Orchard right-of-way. The remainder of the subdivision work remains to be completed. He can certainly comment on that, but we do have physical improvements, public
Okay.
improvements already put in the,
Okay, so
to the property line, it sounds like.
within the city street.
does city council have any questions of the affected parties?
I do, yeah.
All right, please step up. Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is Bart North Engineering, PO Box 2486, Hayden. The record is at least partially correct as of my discussion with Rob Wright. In further discussion with the applicant, and I confirmed this before the council meeting, the water main is 100% constructed. Sewer services on this project, there was individual services that were extended up to Maple, and those are installed to the property line. So as it regards the substantive progress on this project, it has occurred. And the applicant, what's left is some rough grading of the roads, curb, sidewalk, and pavement. And the applicant is, he's been flying around the countryside, playing contractor, and I think he just ran out of time here and is requesting an extension to give him time to get this completed before the end of the 2024 construction season. If the extension was not granted, you'd have some water main
Nowhere?
installed in a backyard. So, is there any questions?
Sure. So did I understand you correct? I don't know the design or the layout or whatever. I'm assuming you probably have a street with houses on one side type of thing?
I'm sorry, yeah, as I was stepping up, it's like, we should have got the minor subdivision layout. It was approved with, I believe it's 7 lots behind the existing house. And there is a private road that terminates in a fire district turnaround.
So did I understand correctly, you have the sewer and water in that road already,
That's correct. It's been installed.
ready to go to the individual lots?
It's already stubbed out to the individual lots.
Okay.
And the utility connections in Maple have been constructed, as is the repairs to Maple Avenue.
So what's gone on here? We're talking a second extension. What's happening here?
That's, well, I think it was just a matter of timing for this particular contractor.
He's just busy with numerous projects and hasn't been able to.
I don't know if he would stand here and say that, but candidly, that's been my impression. I've been the engineer for him on this project, and that's kind of what it looks like to me. But I believe in my conversations with him that he's motivated, and he's made a commitment here that he'd like to finish up. I believe that this subdivision coming online would be both an asset to City of Hayden, and I think many of the adjacent neighbors would appreciate it also.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for, anybody want to make a motion regarding the request for, yes?
Yes, I move to approve the request for an extension of the preliminary plat of the subdivision.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second?
2 seconds, may we get a roll call vote, please? I'm sorry, I did it again, is there any discussion that needs to be had?
I think we just need a specificity on the time frame on that motion, if you don't mind, Councilmember White, so we know.
A 1-year extension?
Thank you.
Okay. Now, is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none. Now may I get a roll call vote, please?
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember DeFreeze?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
And Councilmember White?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 5C, which is the Doris Development LLC Construction Improvement Agreement. Staff is recommending approval of the Doris Development LLC Construction Improvement Agreement on behalf of the city to record such with Kootenai County. Any questions of city, or is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. So with this development, how much green space is there going to be there? Is there like park areas, and would the city be taking care of it?
So this was a multifamily zone, and they are developing their property in accordance with the rules of that zone. So as far as how much open space, I'm not even sure if there is.
Yeah, there is.
There is? You got the number?
No.
Or, so there is a minimum
So
requirement.
does that fall on the city to upkeep?
No.
I mean, that doesn't affect the
So
decision.
the construction improvement agreement before you is for the public improvements that were required as part of the development. So this is basically for the public road that extends from Davis Circle up to Orchard Avenue.
I drove by there. It's a huge hole. Let's finish it. Get that hole filled in.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm going to direct this to you. So this is going to connect with the current extension off of North Davis Circle, right?
Correct.
Which is directly across from Walmart. Okay, this is me hypothesizing here. I just made a new word there.
Is that a word?
Did you give any thought to like what the traffic flow might be through there for people wanting to get in and out of Walmart?
So the North Davis Circle was originally set up for future connectivity.
It was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that pre-existed all the homes that went in there?
That was, yes, that was part of the subdivision design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here.
Care to comment? on traffic flow there? I mean, is it just something that the neighbors in there will have to deal with, or?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the city? Staff? Is anyone going to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to make approval of the Doors Development LLC Construction Improvement Agreement and authorize the mayor to sign on behalf of the city prior to recordation with Cooney County.
Wonderful.
Second.
And we have a second. May we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
And Council President Roder?
Yes.
Okay, our last new business for the night is simply an administrative note. The city wishes for city council to approve Tuesday, August 27th, 2024 as the fiscal year 2025 budget hearing date. Any comments, or would somebody like to?
Just a point of clarity, this is a requirement under Idaho code, so.
Yes, it is.
Sure, comment.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm just thankful it's not on my anniversary again this year. Last year was my anniversary.
Okay, Ed?
Yeah, so with this would be the hearing. Is there a projected initiation of the budgeting process when we start having, and what is that rough
I'm
date?
glad you asked that. I was going to give that in my update, but I met with the mayor today, and I've met with some of the staff to look at backfilling from this date to the current date as to how we're going to move forward with our budget cycle. This is my first one with this city, so I'm learning my way through that, but it's.
But the answer is August 26th.
Yeah, right.
I thought I had it. Anyways, I have a schedule filled out. I'm working with the mayor to get kind of firm up some dates, but yeah, it would include
Next month?
typical.
Yes.
Yes, next
Next
month.
month.
The typical onsetting of the agenda, which would include looking at kind of historical trends and maybe some future trends that we want to look at, setting some discussions about, you know, if there's any holistic changes we need to look at. And then sometime, and we're trying to work with schedules because summer is a challenging months, excuse me. We'll be looking at our workshops, which would include the general fund and then our enterprise funds, so.
So I think roughly you're saying sometime in April we'll initiate the process.
I'm already having early conversations with staff. In fact, I think I started prepping them when I first came on, that in April we would be kicking it off.
Thank you.
Somebody want to make a motion to either approve or not approve our budget hearing date?
Sure.
Thank you.
I would recommend the approval of Tuesday, August 27th, 2024 as the fiscal year 2025 budget hearing date.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second, may we get a roll, any discussion? I'm hearing none. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Okay, we've closed new business. We're moving on to reports. City Administrator report and calendar review.
So I will just quickly, I apologize, I wasn't able to get my memo in writing to you. It's just a busy time right now, but I will like to just give a brief verbal report and to let the council know that staff is working on our city newsletter that's set to go out sometime in April or May. We are currently working with the agenda for the Public Safety Commission, which is set to meet on April 2nd. And there was a question I was supposed to bring forward to the mayor regarding having a joint meeting with that body on April 2nd with the council to discuss and provide direction to that body. So that question will come back to the mayor and the clerk about whether or not we can get a quorum of a joint meeting with the council.
Okay, so I will go out with an email to council asking you all to reply to Abby, letting us know of your availability.
A couple other just highlights. Currently we have 3 projects out to bid. One's a road maintenance project. The other one is the Hayden Meadows pedestrian route. This is one that we received a grant for. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Ramsey Road, the gravity sewer phase 2 Wyoming to Dakota. This is the part of the H6 basin. And then on the recreation side, we have youth basketball program that's underway and youth soccer program that's starting up soon. So that concludes my report.
Volleyball?
Oh, excuse me, what did I say? Yes, volleyball.
Very good. Any questions for our city administrator?
And to your point, we're working on budget.
Oh.
So,
Hearing none, are there any roundtable discussion items on reports and non-action items tonight?
I have one. I was fishing on Monday and came back from Coquilala, and I saw what appears to be building for the, I think it's the Lakes Highway District building, and it's progressed. I was kind of surprised. Now, why I bring this up is that we haven't had a facilities meeting for, I know you're new, but we were talking about planning about transition into the new facility at the airport, and I go, oh my gosh, they're moving along on these Lakes Highway District building. So just to kind of put a little voice in the ear of everybody that maybe we need to talk about that in the future, about what kind of time frame we will be on to make that move, and that's all I have to say, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, and that's something we've been discussing with staff. Are there any other items for roundtable tonight?
Well, Mr. Mayor, do you want me to summarize anything about KMPO, or are you satisfied with the emails I've sent you?
I'm happy with the emails you gave me.
Okay.
Am I satisfied with KMPO's answers? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree.
And just for clarity, Tom's our KMPO representative. We're trying to get firmer answers on the Hutter Byway project that are more detailed. Then it will remain on a list of potential projects through 2029. I find that to be completely unacceptable.
Is that their basic reason?
What's that?
That's their basic answer?
That's the answer we have so
That's
far.
the answer.
I'd
Sandy?
like to add to KMPO that they are now recording the meetings, videotaping them, and also including the transcript online, which I think is impressive, so.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Schaefer brought up a point about our meetings of our external boards, and I did want to make a comment about the HARB's board met last week, and there were some discussions about our dissolution agreement, and their interest in wanting to get draft agreements to the board members by next Friday is not going to be met, or this Friday, excuse me. So
Right.
they are canceling that meeting. I just want to make sure you guys know.
Yep, and just for everyone's situational awareness, the potential, is it the word disillusion of HARPS is one of the very heavy lifts that staff and I are working on. Any other roundtable discussion items? Okay, do we need a motion for the adjourn? I always forget, it's so late. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
We're adjourned.
Pretty good, 2 hours.